Hello, sports fans. It's August 7th, 2024. Welcome to Cleats by Dre. I'm Dre. Let's talk some sports. All right, it's back to baseball today. The boys of summer. And the Mets are in the dog days a little bit. They're in the midst of this crazy four-city barnstorming road trip, and they're having some trouble. They lost 3 of the last 4 to the lowly Angels and Rockies. But it was actually a somewhat subtle, maybe just one-day lineup change by manager Carlos Mendoza that tipped off this thought I've had. He put Pete Alonso in the 5-hole. First time he hit lower than 4th for the first time since September 2020. I'm going to present to you my case that the Mets championship form, crazy thought I know, indeed has Pete hitting 5th or maybe even 6th. So in this episode, we'll take a high-level look at Pete's year so far. Then I'll talk about my preconceived notions about lineup construction. And we'll do what's becoming a Cleats by Dre staple, a look back in history to see if my assumptions are backed up by past World Series winners. So first, 3 things that made my cleats go click-clack since the last show. One is the Olympics. A lot of great events. They've been on nightly in my household. I just want to call out that incredible men's 100-meter final, right, where American Noah Lyles by a torso took the gold. Really enjoyable, close heat. He was last, then he was first. Really speaking to the true nature of sport, and that was just exciting to watch. And my biggest message, though, is to the content creators out there, all you different company sponsors or entrepreneurs. We don't all need a lesson, using about the matter of inches when you're trying to pitch to us your small SaaS offering. So let's keep the content on sports. Number 2, interesting thing going on, the Giants training camp, right? We talked about them a little bit on the Hard Knocks offseason episode. Footage has come out. They've looked feisty. A little bit of fighting is okay. They've been scrimmaging the Lions. Most importantly, Malik Neighbors has been reported as unguardable. Saw some beat reporters talk about he had 18 targets in the inter-squad scrimmages, caught 17 of them. Lots of big optimism for the Giants this year. My third point is Notre Dame football. Yes, we will be covering Notre Dame football. Some rough news out of training camp. Charles Jagusaw, the next great hope at left tackle. And Notre Dame prints, not even first round, but top 10 left tackle draft picks. Joe Alt being the next, the latest one. Ronnie Stanley, we keep going back. But Jagusaw, going into sophomore year, he tore his pectoral. He's out for the year. That's a big loss, especially for a team with a quarterback coming off an injury in Riley Leonard. This is going to be a critical year 3 for Marcus Freeman. Schedule's lining up. A lot of expectations. We know what Brian Kelly did in year 3, whether we love or hate Brian Kelly. He took him to the title game. So we'll get a Notre Dame season preview in at some point, but that was unfortunate to see. Okay, on to Pete Alonso. Now, this is not a takedown of Pete. A true fan favorite. All accounts, a great person. He's embraced New York since he came up in 2019. Gives back to the community. He has fun here. In 2019, that was a year the Mets came out of a really couple dark years. He rose onto the scene, smashing home runs, Rookie of the Year, creating the LFGM, Mets tagline. Immediate leader. And honestly, he gets a bad rap from around the league. I think people get sick of him in the home run derby. He has some awkward sound bites, some awkward moments. He doesn't deserve the hate he gets from the rest of the league and players. I like Pete. I'm a fan. But this is about stats. This is about winning. I just think based on Pete's hitting profile, in our best championship form for the Mets, he's a 5th, maybe even a 6th hitter based on his profile. Now let's look at his profile, right? So this year he's hitting .241 batting average, 23 home runs, 59 RBIs. His running and scoring position numbers are pretty low. I don't really harp on those too much. I think there's some randomness in there, whether you agree or disagree. He's on pace for about 34 home runs and 90 RBIs for the season. That would be his lowest output in counting stats outside of his COVID year 2020. On base percentage is .326, not great. Slugging is .464, lowest he's ever had. His overall wins above replacement, right? Remember that stat that just kind of shows, how many wins is he really responsible for as a player? 1.6. That's 10th in the league among first basemen. That's behind Nathaniel Lowe of the Rangers and Jake Cronenworth of the Padres. Not exactly household names. Now, I'm not here to disparage Pete, right? He's still a very important part of a deep, balanced lineup, right? We talked about that in the past. He's just on a 2-year run now of very low on base percentage. 318 last year, 326 this year. I believe in the sanctity of the batting order a bit. I think great winning championship lineups hit guys fourth that not only clean up, but also set up the second half of the lineup. And that the answer for me here relates to on-base percentage and contact. The four-hitter cleanup hitter sure has to have power. There also has to be contact, avoiding strikeouts, ability to get on base. See, I grew up watching baseball in the late 90s. I grew up learning about baseball from those Yankees dynasties. I thought the most underappreciated hitter in those Yankees lineups was Bernie Williams. He had some power, but he really could move the line. That's a four-hitter. Now Bernie, from 1996 to 2001, each season a batting average between 305 to 342, on base percentage between 391 and 435, and a slugging percentage between 522 and 575. All with strikeout percentages around 13%. Pete is around 21% for comparison. And I know comparisons are funky between the eras because, there was more hitting in general back there, but just come on. I mean, look at that. In the 300s batting average, around 400 on base percentage. And, for those that aren't as stat, aware, right? We're talking about percentages, and an on base percentage of 320 compared to one of 400, right? That's about 32% of the time getting on base, but 40% of the time. I mean, that's over the course, let's say 600 at bats, 8% of 600. I mean, we're talking about 50 times on base, more than the other guy. How many more runs is when you're on base 50 more times? You're talking about 10 to 20 more runs over the course of a year. It's a big difference. That's like 2 or 3 wins at least. So, that's why I'm harping on these percentages. And now get ready for a little bit of sports unbackable nerdom. I apply this theory to my out-of-the-park baseball lineups. Now, I mentioned in my opening pod, right, I played a lot of out-of-the-park baseball. It's a simulation engine. For those that know Stratomatic, it's just a really, souped-up version of that, where you pretend you're a general manager, you pretend you're a manager. There's real rosters based on real players. There's minor league systems you got to manage. You can manage the games. You can make trades, sign free agents. I mean, it's everything. The closest thing to being a general manager to not actually being one. And I had a lineup philosophy, right, for my lineups. The best 2 overall hitters based on, I use OPS, right, on base plus slugging percentage. They hit 3rd and 4th. The one with the higher on base percentage hit 3rd. The other one hit 4th. Then the remaining top 2 on base percentage guys hit 1, 2, top of the order. The better overall hitter of the 2 hit, and the guy with more speed hit leadoff. Then 5 through 9, I ranked them by OPS, higher to lower, with giving more preference to the on base percentage guys. I would do this for the right-left splits. And trust me, this worked. Talking 110 games, won every season. Sure, it flaked out in the playoffs sometimes. Don't worry about that. But look, I invested hours, days, weeks into this game. At my business school summer internship, I'd bring a laptop to the cafeteria and just manage some games during lunch, progressing my Mets seasons while it made it look like I was just a go-getter trying to do more work. Hey, I got an offer from them, so that worked out. Come to think of it, actually, this was around the time my girlfriend from my first year of business school broke up with me as we just started doing long distance. Maybe correlation there, I don't know. But hey, you can't spell oops without OOTP for out of the park. I digressed. Enough about the pursuits, though. Let's look at hard stats. Let's look at, besides what I think a good lineup is, let's look at past championship lineups, World Series champions. Right, we have that set of 10 World Series, the last 10 World Series champions we looked at before. Let's look at their cleanup hitters, their number 4 hitters. And for each of them, I'm going to list their stats, their OPS profile, right? Batting average, on base, plus slugging. The perfect match of contact, get on base, and move runners that are on base. Remember, our comparison point is currently Pete, And he's 241, 326, 464 this year. So let's go back 10 years. Bear with me. 2023 Rangers. Number 4 hitter was Odalis Garcia. 245, 328, 508. Now, this is actually one of the ones most similar to Pete. But Odalis was also the World Series MVP last year. He broke out. So he really stood up. 2022 Astros, Alex Bregman. 259, 366, 454. Okay, on base percentage getting up there. Much higher than Pete's. 2021 Braves, Austin Riley in a breakout year. 303, 367, 531. Beast numbers across the board. 2020 Dodgers, actually Max Muncy hit fourth in a really, this is the COVID year, right? This is a weird year. 192, 331, 389. Down year for him. So maybe he's an anomaly here, but let's see. Let's look at all 10. But interesting, this year by Max was sandwiched around 3 other seasons where he was top 15 in MVP. 2019 Nationals, a guy named Juan Soto. 282, 401, 548. Beast. 2018 2018 Red Sox, JD Martinez. 330, 402, 629. 2017 Astros, Carlos Correa, 315, 391, 550. 2016 Cubs, Ben Zobrist did clean up. 272, 386. He got a great eye. He walked all the time. 446 slugging, and also the World Series MVP from the 4-hole. 2015 Royals, Eric Hosmer, 297, 363, 459. High on base percentage. Then 2014 Giants, Pablo Sandoval. 279, 324, 415. Weak stats, but remember, this guy in 3 World Series hit 426, on base 460, slugging 702. Talk about a clutch legend. So if you look at those players, right, of the 10 of them, we besides Muncy in the COVID year, and then Odalis Garcia and Pablo Sandoval, who were World Series legends, the other 7 guys up there on base percentage. But let's average those 10, right? If you average those 10, you get batting average 277, on base of 366, slugging of 493. Slugging's kind of in line with Pete, but on base percentage much, much higher than Pete's 326. Now, who are some comparable players in history who hit like this in their career? 277, 366, 493. How about Luis Gonzalez? How about Kent Herbeck? Scott Rowland? And there's a Yankee in there from the Dynasty years. Not Bernie, but Paul O'Neill. All 4 of those guys in common, they all won World Series. By the way, for you old-timers out there, Roy Campanella also fits that profile. 3 times MVP and also World Series winner with the Brooklyn Dodgers. So what are the Mets to do, right? We just showed how championship-winning lineups in the 4 spot, guys get on base. Well, this year, there's no more acquisitions coming. And as deep as the Mets lineup is, as dangerous as it still is, there's not a 277, 366, 493 guy in this roster. The Mets lineup has been cold lately too, really. It's really since the Braves series. 18th in runs since then. I'd love to see them putting more on base percentage guys towards the top, especially against righties. And maybe time for Vientos to get a shot ahead of Pete. I know he's slowing down a little bit, but he's showing more power this year at least. So versus righties, you just got Jesse Winker, high on base percentage guy. So maybe, we can't move Lindor from the leadoff spot. Lindor, Nimmo, JD, maybe Winker hits 4th. Vientos 5th, Alonso 6th. Take a little pressure off Pete. Versus lefties, maybe Vientos 4th, Alonso 5th. Let's give it a shot. And beyond this year, well, we all know about Pete's upcoming free agency. He could just have 50 games left with the Mets. I don't want to comment on free agency because I want to let Pete enjoy and shine in the last 50 games. Maybe a future episode we'll look at the market for him. But all things being equal, right, there's no salary cap in baseball. You'd love your rich owner to bring everybody back. But if we look at that 277, 366, 493 split, there is a guy in the league at a career 272, 366, 479, who's also going to be a free agent. He's having a down year this year. He plays a corner infield position also. He's won 2 World Series titles. He was on my list before of past World Series winner cleanup winners. His name's Alex Bregman. And I would say don't be surprised if David Stearns is peaking that way also. We'll get to that though. Okay, folks, that's it for this episode. Thanks so much. As always, please share, please rate, please review, please follow. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.